Hey, Rack Star fans, rack safety enthusiasts, if you will. I got Brian from Incord on the bubble with me today, and we are discussing how safety netting applies to the rack safety world and how it can help people from getting big, heavy stuff and falling on their head. So, Brian, if you want to kind of explain some areas where you've seen netting be effective in a rack safety world before, and we'll roll with that.
Sure. So maybe just to give you a brief background, we're a netting manufacturer. Just happen to have some samples. We make a wide variety of different grades of netting, depending upon what you want to catch or contain. For instance, this is more of a heavy-duty rack guard. This lighter duty material would be used for hand stack racking, shelf backing. We get into very tight woven materials to catch any debris. And then we also get involved in manufacturing of web netting, which is car seat belt type material, like you would see here. So,
got it.
So the netting itself, for the most part, we're either looking at catching or containing either a loose box, full pallet, or a person. So the netting itself is application driven, how much weight, fall distances, trajectories, things of that nature. So from an application standpoint, do you mind if I share my screen?
Tear it up. Yeah. I may have to give you authorization to do it, but yeah, go ahead.
Right. So can you see the tiles?
We're getting there. It's popping up. Okay. I see a bunch of pictures.
Okie doke. So the vast majority of applications that we run into would be rack related. Typically, it's used in scenarios where there's a workstation, next door to a storage rack, if you would. And really, the netting is used to contain anything that may kick off the pallet rack. This is a flush mount installation that we recently done. And the purpose of the netting, it's used.
You might want to click on those pictures so it'll open them up, because they're too small for me to be able to see what you're referring to.
Yeah, you'll have to excuse me. It's been so long.
No.
Is that showing up?
Now it is.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've used Zoom. You have to excuse me, but this is a typical scenario. This is a main aisleway down, through the middle of a facility where they want to protect the upper elevations, or the reserve storage.
Yep.
Protect, against the product from spilling out into a work area.
No, and that's a real typical application that I see a lot too, where there's a single row where
Sure.
It's not a back-to-back. Where right. They don't have either a 4-foot rack there or another load in there to hold product from falling through. And a lot of places are doing that now, especially if it's an open pick area. That
Sure.
looks like it's a narrow aisle man up system, which is typically hand stack or hand pick. So they
Right.
probably have open pallets up there where stuff could get bumped and pushed off the backside. So super typical.
Yeah, at the lower elevations, they're picking off of the lower levels. So there will be a picking operation, but again, for the most part, they're loading and unloading from the one side only, except for the lower elevations. So that's a pretty typical application. For pallet racking, in addition, we also do a lot of netting. Can you see this picture? The yellow
Yep.
netting?
Yep.
Yeah, this is a horizontal application where they're using it underneath pallet flow in a pick module application. And here the netting is used to catch any item that may fall down through the system, but it also protects the pickers or the workers that are working inside the module for fall through protection. So this kind of serves two different purposes.
Got it.
So that's kind of an interesting application. If you want to get a little bit better close up, this is typically what we see underneath the pallet flow. Generally speaking, if you have a 2 deep or a 3 deep system, the customer will put in, some sort of a bar grading system in the first position, and then it would be the second position or the second and third, depending upon how deep they want to go. And that's where the safety netting would come into play.
Got it. Yeah, that looks like that'd be a whole lot easier to install than more bar grading. And I got to believe it's a whole lot more economical also.
Yeah, it's the studies that we've run is that it's typically only 25% or 30% of the cost versus a steel product. But, more importantly, people aren't going to get out and walk on the safety netting because they really can't. What happens in these pick modules is that if a pallet's stuck or if a product falls, somebody will walk out onto the bar grading, and that's not a good scenario. If you take the bar grading all the way out, somebody could walk all the way out to the edge and then fall off. With the netting, that's hopefully would prevent that from happening. Plus, it's what they call a passive system, which means that it's always working. Nobody has to take any action for it to be effective. The other option, if you do, put the bar grading all the way out, then you've got to put a worker in a full body harness and a lanyard and then send them out. And at that point, it kind of becomes a management problem.
Right.
You force somebody to put on a harness and a lanyard. No.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because they never have them up at that level where they're trying to work. They're always downstairs, and people will just step out there quick versus going down to do it. I wonder why. I know that people will do that.
Well, yeah.
So,
usually, you go to pick up a full body harness. Somebody has the guy that wore it previously has it rolled up into a ball. Then it takes you 15 minutes to untangle it before you put it on, and then it's just a kind of a pain in the neck.
Right. Yep.
And then also, so go ahead.
No, so I also notice. Have you by chance got any pictures where a load has pushed into the netting, where if it was like a hard rack backer, that it would have destroyed the rack backer? That's one thing about netting is it's flexible. So if you push into it, it's going to come back. With hard rack back, I mean, if you push into it, that stuff's bent forever.
It is. This is. Can you see this picture?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a real good comparison right there.
Yeah, this is a project that the end user originally went with the wire mesh product, and they didn't like the way that it performed. So we put in our safety netting system in the bays adjacent to an existing wire mesh install. We went back in 6 or 8 months and took a look at it, and you could certainly see the differences.
Right.
Netting, naturally has some give or deflection to it. And so if somebody jams something out too far, the netting will, form around the protrusion, if you would, and in most cases, once they correct the situation, the netting will snap back into place. With the wire mesh products, this is typically what we'll see, after it's been, put up for a while. It's just, what we see, it gets beat up. It's not really designed to take an impact load.
Right. Well, the other thing that I'm seeing here is that on the top, you guys have got offsets where you've got it
Right.
pulled out a bit.
Sure. Right.
But in the center here, it looks like you guys are putting it tight again. Normally what I've seen is if you give people room to be able to put stuff off the back, it'll hold up pretty good because then they've at least got some run out. And it gives them some room to work.
Yeah, the typical scenario is a 48 pallet on a 42 frame.
Yep.
If things are loaded correctly, you've got 3 inches of overhang in the front, 3 inches in the back. And as you well know, fork truck operators, can get a little, there's some variance there. And, the back, may overhang 4 inches, 5 inches. So our standard offset bracket is 6 inches to accommodate if they push it back, the full 6 inches. So, that's a key point. We treat overhang, as an absolute. There either is or there isn't. And there's really no gray area, right? So
so the PDF from your website did pop up. So I'll actually include the link to that PDF in the description so that people can jump to there and have a look. That was just one of the things that they showed was a load sticking out the back and pushing into it.
Sure.
So now you've got other situations here where you've got let's see if it will allow me. Why don't you stop your sharing for just a second? Let me share this PDF with folks so that they can see what we're actually talking about here. So right here's what I was talking about, where they've got carton flow, where they're loading it from the backside. Mm-hmm. But then they're putting a net on there so that it can't get, as people are moving stuff around, they'll have a tendency to push the whole row back.
Right.
I think that's a pretty neat application that I'd not seen before.
Yeah, that's a retractable system, and that basically allows you to both guard and access the same side of a rack.
Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of an interesting application. This was a pick module where the second level is shown where they've got carton flow. The uppermost level was a single deep drop-off position. And for the upper level, this is used really for fall protection because, there are pickers, within
up in here.
A few feet of the open edge. And this was kind of an interesting application because on this pick module, on that second level, that carton flow was on casters, if you can believe that. And for half of the year, the carton flow would be on one side of the module, and the other half of the year would be on the opposite side of the module. So for roughly 6 months a year, that was a single deep drop-off position for full pallets. So that's the reasoning behind it.
Got it.
Most stuff isn't going to fall off of the charged side of a carton flow system. So, and then in the lower left-hand corner, in that same brochure, we have a system that you can slide back and forth like a shower curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And again, what this is going to allow you to do is both guard and access that same side of the rack. So whereas in the past, Eric, you're probably used to the fixed systems where they're putting it on the backside of a single run of rack on a side that they're not accessing.
Correct.
Or on the backside of a double, back-to-back rack, double deep, again, loading and unloading from one side, or on the back of pushback. So that's, somewhat limiting. And by having these retractable systems or sliding systems, it really opens up, it allows us to have a solution to do that front side of the rack. And then if you scroll down, if you scroll down a little bit further, we have web nets that we custom manufacture as well. This is the car seat belt type material. And here what we're doing is we're sewing on web tie-down straps around the perimeter, where you could just do two sides only. And the web straps would either attach to an offset bracket if there's overhang, or you could mount it. If there's no overhang, you can mount it flush to the upright posts or to the beams. And again, this is also a quick disconnect system, because you could just simply undo the web straps and just, take the net down.
Right.
So this is more of a low down dirty system, if you would, versus the slidable system or the retractable system.
Right. So another thing that I'm seeing behind this too is that they're using a lot of those monster zip ties in the material handling world now. Mm-hmm. So if in the future somebody had to move this beam up, they actually could zip tie that on to the next run. Yeah, and it would be,
Yeah, we don't use zip ties for the most part. The only time that we'll use zip ties, it would truly have to be a hand-stacked application, whether it's shoe boxes or record storage boxes, or if it's used on the end of a rack where you have cross bracing, and you're not going to get a full pallet, impacting the load. But right. Ties just aren't strong enough. We've done extensive testing, and it's so if someone's trying to, in a roundabout way, if someone wants to contain a 2,000-pound pallet, but you don't want to use a nylon tie. We won't.
Got it. Good enough. Good point. So here you've got some other applications here too, where you've got stuff on a pickable surface where you've created sure. Safety netting along the edge.
Yeah, and that was one of the those web nets with the web tie down straps sewn on, so they're captive. And this was for use in a module in reserve storage slots, where they only accessed it maybe once or twice a week, where they wanted something low down and dirty. Obviously, in these modules where the high throughput slots they keep open, they just keep feeding the module, right?
Right.
So it's again really, going back to guarding the reserve storage slots.
This looks like a typical what I was used to installing, where they put the offsets on every column so that it gives them the space to come out, but yet it's nice and taut.
Sure.
That stuff holds up really good.
Yeah,
this must have been a walkway down through the middle of a system.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The one other point I'd like to bring up is that, from a strength capacity, we dynamically test everything, and we test it to destruction. Everything that will sell, if it has a strength rating to it, has at least a 2-to-1 safety factor built into it, and that's key or critical. This is safety netting. This isn't fish netting or baseball batting cage netting. This truly is a tested product.
No, so one of the things that I look for when I'm in doing inspections is I look for fall hazards. Mm-hmm. And that's where your product is either already there, or I recommend that people put it in place.
Sure.
So now, do you have, are all of the rack distributors in the world, or in the United States anyway, Are they all your distributors?
No, typically our, product is sold, as part of a package or part of a system. And, what we find from the distributor network is that some people pick up on it and some people don't. Kind of along the lines of what you're doing, we're seeing more and more people, being, putting a little more emphasis on the safety angle within these facilities because, let's face it, when rack, first gets installed, it looks great. But again, you go back 6, 12, 18 months down the road, God forbid, you take a look at something 5 years down the road, stuff gets beat up, it's reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing this for decades and decades and decades. And, when I started back in the late 80s, people were much more reactionary than they are now. Nowadays, people are proactive. They're taking the extra steps. They're looking at things. They want to prevent the accidents from happening, before they occur, obviously. And again, it's I guess it's a new age, right?
Well, so I don't know if it's a new age as much as it is just people thinking things through from the beginning and realizing that you have the option of either being proactive and invest, or you can be reactive and wait until something breaks. I always try to relate rack safety back to something that people can relate to. And with it being this time of the year, with me being based in Michigan, everybody's buying new tires now so that they can get around. And yeah, you're right. I mean, back in the day, people would wait until they had a disaster and they had stuff falling before they'd worry about putting in netting. That's kind of like waiting to buy new tires after you get your car stuck, right, and expecting the tire company to come out and put tires on your car while you're sitting along the roadside stuck. I mean, I know that people are going, but that's insane. Yeah, waiting to fix a imminent issue until somebody gets hurt is just as crazy. So I just wanted to get you on so that you could share these options as ideas for people so that they
Sure.
would know if they have had situations where people have gotten things falling out of the sky. I know in my typical thing that I will find in a facility is I will find what I call a widowmaker beam. And that's where one end of the beam has come loose, and then another driver comes along and puts a load on that beam where the one end is not tied in, and it rips it loose. And so the one thing I point out to people is the amount of time and energy and money that you're going to invest into one of those situations is going to cost you more than a complete annual rack inspection. And I don't know of too many places that don't have that hazard happen at least once a year, unless they've got an annual rack inspection and they've got their people trained to run around and look for, if lock pins have been broken, because the OEMs don't like to last. And your situation is very similar. People can either wait until they lose money from the product, then invest in netting, or they can invest in the netting and know that they're not going to lose their product. So to me, it just makes sense to be proactive.
Absolutely. There are some other applications for the netting if you're interested in hearing about them.
Sure.
Let me see if I can go back and share my screen again.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. Can you see all the tiles?
Yep, I can see your screen.
Okay. not quite pallet rack related, but somewhat similar. We also do wrap a lot of mezzanine rail structures. Like you see here, if they're storing, boxes or product near the edge and the size of the product can fit between the rails, netting is a very inexpensive solution here. You typically just attach it to the top rail and to the toe board.
Right. Go ahead and open that picture.
Yeah.
Because that picture is too small for people to be able to see it.
Is it coming in?
There we go.
Right.
I mean, because I'm familiar with what you're talking about, I get it.
Sure.
But yeah, that makes it real clear. Those little boxes could get pushed right through that handrail.
Yeah, and again, netting versus a steel product is, typically, 25 to 33% of the cost. So netting is kind of a natural for this application too.
And you can see that you've got printers and stuff below there. So, even if there's not somebody there, you drop one of them boxes on a printer, your printer's probably not going to be happy about it.
Sure. One of the other things I wanted to bring up is, one of the key areas you need to look at in the pallet rack application is always that top pallet position, especially in retrofits. Can you see this picture?
You're still showing the big one there.
All right. Oh, wrong one. I'm not sure what's showing up. Is this showing up?
Okay, so it's still showing the mezzanine.
All right.
You probably have that open in the background or something. There you go. The mezzanine's gone now. So now you can pick your share and go back to your file manager and pull up another one.
All right.
Yeah, so I see that you've got netting there, but I also see you've got an upper level that realistically is not protected.
Sure.
So unless they're only putting full pallets up there or pallets that are totally wrapped, which I can see just beyond the second upright, that sure looks like you've got boxes there that are not attached.
Well, yeah, if you look at that second pallet, 7/8 of the pallet's not protected, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this was a photo where, a customer, one of our dealers said, "Hey, look at this great installation. Look what we put in." And I looked at it and said, "Well, why didn't you guard that top pallet? In theory, that's the most hazardous position. Something could fall the furthest before somebody got hit."
Mm-hmm.
And, are you creating a false sense of security? And he goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, if something falls over the top of the netting, I don't want anybody knocking on my door. Do you want to not knocking on your door?" And he goes, "Well, that's what the customer asked for." And I said, "Well, that's fine and dandy, but if stuff goes sideways, people's memories get short, and that's when the finger pointing starts." So, what we'll tell people is that if they're asking, to go to, just to the top of the upright, by all means, give them that option, but you need to back it up with an option to extend up so that you can protect that top pallet.
Right.
And if anything else, it's a CYA. Furthermore, puts the onus on the end user. They're going to have to make the decision. So it's you just have to be careful. The end users aren't always correct. Sometimes you need to save them from themselves, right?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're not correct, but what I will say is that I want everybody watching this video to think about, what are you so good at that you can see things that other people that don't have your level of expertise can't see, for whatever your area of expertise is. So I don't think that it's that they're wrong, they just don't see it. And once they see it, they're like, oh shit, that makes sense. And then once they see it, and once they're educated, then they know it. So one of the things that a lot of people don't see, that actually I had to pick up from one of the safety trainings at one of the facilities that I was at, is stored energy. People like to prop things up against things. Well, either old guys that have taken a hit to the head enough times, or a safety expert can see that that vertically stored pallet, tool, people like doing it with beams, where if they're not, if they'll set a beam right against the middle of a beam and it's not captured at all, if that comes down and clops somebody's head open, but now once you see it, and now you know. So, I mean, I see that stuff in rack all the time, where because I've been inspecting rack for a long time and installed it for decades before that, I just see stuff. And that's why it's important to have an expert take a look.
You know, Eric, it's funny you say that. I would say that, you know, the people that do well selling and promoting our product tend to be the people that continually offer it as a value-added safety option on a proposal. You don't want to, you know, lump it in with a base quote. You got to break it out as, again, the option. And we get a ton of orders, last-minute orders where, you know, somebody offers our product, the end user decides not to buy it. You know, they're 2 weeks away from turning over the new installation to the end user. And then finally the light bulb goes on in the end user's head saying, geez, I see what you mean. You know, we should have put, you know, the rack guarding in that last single run of racking, you know, where there's the in-plant office right next door or whatever it may be. So we get the calls weekly where, hey, you know, can you get this out by next Thursday? It's just the nature of the beast, you know. So that's a great point that you brought up.
Yep.
We live it all the time.
Yep. Well, Brian, hey, I appreciate you making yourself available to help educate the world there. Go ahead and close that picture for me if you could.
Sure.
There we go. Guys, I'm not a distributor for netting. I just work for a whole lot of people that either are or should be. I get into facilities where they either have it or they should have it. And so when Brian and I kind of ran into each other, I'm like, hey, you should jump on Rackspert TV with me and talk about how your product can help some people from taking one to the head. And, you know, even though some of us in the world need to have a little help knocking some sense into us, in some situations, it's the safety guy that needs some help. Or the leadership team are the ones that need to have a little convincing that they should take care of their people, because whether you believe it or not, those worker bees out there with their feet on the ground, the ones that are actually moving the boxes, they're the ones that are making you money. You are a necessary expense in order to make the big machine work. The little guys are the ones that are actually making the money to fuel the whole thing. So be aware of that fact. Be aware of the fact you need to take care of them if you want them to take care of you. So if you got a netting application, you can get a hold of Brian. I'll include his contact information in the notes of this video. And if you've got a rack inspection or a potential rack safety question mark, you can reach out to me in all the different ways that there are nowadays: Facebook, LinkedIn, you know, snail mail if you got to, I guess. But reach out to me and I'm glad to help you. I am doing inspections all over the country. And the thing that's nice about that is people that are doing annuals I'm able to partner them up with somebody else that's doing an annual in their area to cut down on travel expenses, and I share that savings with the end customers. So I look forward to talking to you soon, helping you create a safer environment for the people that are making it possible for us to all enjoy what I call a click it and get it lifestyle. And I will talk to you very soon, I hope. Have a great day.